Hi, my name is Haley Jurko, and I am an LPC candidate at Sunbeam Family Services. With COVID-19 still going on and our constant flexibility with adjusting and readjusting to this new normal, today I'm actually going to be talking to you about grief. So let's get started. Grief, simply put, is the natural reaction to a loss. Now, there are an abundance of types of losses. Of course, the first one we think of is the death of someone significant within our lives. Now, there's also other ones that expand that, such as getting a divorce, moving out of state, experiencing like a natural disaster, becoming disabled, retirement, loss of financial stability. The list can go on. So I'm going to show you a chart of some myths and facts about grief and grieving. And the reason why I'm showing this to you is because a lot of times people have this idea that there's a specific way that people need to grieve in order to heal. However, what the grieving process really does look like is it's completely individualized and unique, and there's no right or wrong way of grieving. So I hope that this chart helps debunk some of those myths that some people might think of in regards to how they should grieve. So what are some common symptoms of grief? Well, we can break these out into emotional symptoms and physical symptoms. So with emotional symptoms, you might be feeling shock or disbelief that this happened, that this loss occurred, sadness, guilt, anger, and fear. On the physical side, you might be feeling fatigue, nausea, lowered immunity, so you would be potentially getting sick easier, weight loss or weight gain, aches and pains, and then insomnia or just having trouble sleeping. Now, I kind of talked to you about the myths of the grieving process, and so I kind of just want to reiterate the highly individualized, unique process, and that grief does not have a definite timeline, nor does it actually happen in orderly stages. In fact, it can almost feel like you are on a roller coaster or that you're riding a wave with the heightened emotions that you'll be feeling. So kind of going up and down. Now, what I do want to emphasize is the tasks of grief, or the tier. So the T is to accept the reality of the loss. E would be experience the pain of the loss. A is adjusting to the new environment without the lost person. And then R is reinvesting in the new reality. So something that I think is super important is to talk about grief versus clinical depression, because a lot of times they share a lot of common symptoms that it might be hard to differentiate whether you're grieving or you're actually going into the realm of clinical depression. And so in order to do that, there are some symptoms that suggest depression and not just grief. So some of those being that you have this intense, pervasive sense of guilt, you have heightened thoughts of suicide or preoccupation with dying, feelings of hopelessness or worthlessness for yourself, slow speech and body movements, the inability to function at home or at work or at school, and then potentially seeing things or hearing things that aren't there. What do we do when we are experiencing these things? Because grief is a very hard process to go through sometimes. And so I'm going to talk to you about some tips for coping. So one being is acknowledge and face your feelings. Express your feelings in a tangible way or a creative way. So writing in a journal, scrapbooking, or joining a foundation related to the loss that you experienced. Try to maintain hobbies and interests, things that are enjoyable to you, that you like doing, that you get some enjoyment out of. Plan ahead for the grief triggers. So anniversaries, milestones, holidays, etc. If you know that those are coming up, giving yourself a plan of action for those specific triggers to help ease that process if you know it might be kind of difficult. Seek out face-to-face support from people that you care about. Support yourself emotionally by taking care of yourself physically. So getting sleep, eating, exercising, things of that nature that can help your body physically as well as emotionally. And then, of course, recognizing the difference between grief and depression. Now, of course, if you are experiencing these symptoms and think that you need to reach out or have some further assistance, please do not hesitate to call Sunbeam Family Services or any of the other references that I put down on that screen.